Okay, so I am super excited to announce who our next host is. And for those of you who don't know, we've been talking a lot about the book, Exactly What to Say. In fact, Jimmy, you may not know this, but we're going next week actually to Phil's certification course. So we have Jimmy Mackin on with us. He is co-author of the real estate edition of Exactly What to Say. He's also the CEO and founder of Curator.com, which is your one-stop shop for real estate agents and all marketing. So if you're wanting to grow your business, that's what they help you do. They execute on your ideas and actually help you grow. So
I think that is probably the biggest issue right now is, and I always relate it to something that's super common. It's like back in the day, we used to wash our clothes with clothespins and on a clothesline, and then the washer and dryer machine was invented, and we started using that instead because it's more efficient and more practical. And so what are agents doing today to adopt to this new market? Because you can't keep doing what you've always done, even if you've been in the business for 27 years and you have a healthy sphere. And because the reality is these newer agents that are coming in, and I feel that that's part of the frustration is, I think NAR said that the average age of a real estate agent, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, is around like 53 or 54. So they've been in the game for a while. They've been able to rely on their database for a while, but you've got these newbies coming in that are doing these TikToks and they don't know how to write a contract, but they're stealing market share. And so why and how do we adapt? And so I would love to jump into it and hear some strategies that you see working that agents could start implementing to help keep clients.
When I was making the transition from doing DVD sales to going online, they decided to break the brand off. And they said, we're going to have two different brands. We're going to have Netflix, right, which is going to be the online version where you can stream shows. And we're going to have Quickster, which is a DVD by mail business. The universal response by everybody was pure hatred. They hated the idea of sort of bifurcating these different services, having to go over here to get one thing and having to go over here to get the other thing. And so quickly after releasing this new brand, Quickster, Netflix kind of pulled back from that and sort of consolidated the brands back under the parent brand Netflix. And this is an example of what I think many people who are watching probably are afraid to do, which is you're going to make mistakes when you're out there trying new things. And that is completely okay. You should be comfortable, throwing an idea out there, executing that idea. And if it doesn't work, that is okay. That is normal. It is not abnormal. And so a lot of agents, I think, before we get into the X's and O's, a lot of agents have this mindset that everything they've got to do has got to work. And that is just not reality. In marketing, if you're getting 3 out of your 10 ideas work, you're in the Marketing Hall of Fame. Most things will fail, but if you can get in that position where you're executing quickly and with speed and with velocity, you can put yourself in a position where you can pick up market share.
And I wonder do you think that the longer you've been in the business and the more successful that you are, it's almost like the fear of trying something and it not working because you have all these credentials of being like D magazine, and that God forbid you try something and it not work. I wonder if there's a level of that where it's like you've reached a certain level of success, so I'm too scared to try social media and get on video in fear that I look like an idiot, but I'm X and X in the marketplace, and there's this expectation that you're great at everything.
Well, and can I do like a 20-second timeout on that? Because it's one of my pet peeves of when people say what's working. I feel like so much of it could be like behavioral metrics that can't always be on an Excel spreadsheet, or sometimes that Excel spreadsheet could be deceiving.
Yeah.
Because how do you track, unless you're running like direct marketing ads, but in the consumer psychology world, how do you measure the moment that feed, or when they go to look up your social proof, that moment of influence that then makes them feel safe enough and trust you enough to then contact you, where a lot of the times you may have already closed the sale thanks to your social feed, but we get caught up on this what's working thing. And like, well, how do you not know that it's working when there's so much behaviorally that can't be on an Excel spreadsheet?
But to the non-marketer in the room, when you're making business decisions and you're spending money and production's down, there's a level of having to measure, well, what's the rate of return? And that's always tough with marketing and social media and video, is like, you get, because I'm sure y'all's clients, when they come to you, it's like, well, if I write the check for this a month, how much can I get in business next month from it? That's the logical business owner, non-visionary marketer. That's their way of thinking. So.
Well, you both are bringing up interesting points, which is the role of brand in marketing and the role of driving results or performance-based marketing, and how the two coexist. So first, let's just define what brand is, because brand is something that I think a lot of intellectuals sit around smoking their pipes, drinking their cordials, debating on the meaning of brand. Brand, quite simply, it's 3 words. It's your association through experiences. So how do I feel, or what do I think about this company through my own personal experiences? So oftentimes we like to throw the word out there as if it has this bigger meaning, but quite honestly, there are companies out there that the two of you probably love that you've had great experiences with: clothing, merchandise, cars, like luxury, whatever that might be, that I have never heard. I could not tell you if it's good or bad. And I would never be able to say that's worth more to me than that is. And the only reason that that's the case is because you've had your own personal experience with these particular products and services. So therefore, you've established some association. Quality, it means something to you. It signifies something to you. So the role of brand is an essential role in marketing, because in the absence of brand, there is no trust. In the absence of brand, it's really hard for people to make decisions. Let me give you an example of this. A company many years ago came out with this concept where they said, hey, listen, this whole idea of brands was a concept that was introduced by corporations to charge you for more money for basic products. We're going to do the exact opposite. The website was called Brandless. They sold everyday items on their website, like laundry detergent and paper towels and toilet paper and, a toothpaste and toothbrushes, but there was no brand. There was no brand associated with it. It was just basically nothing. It was brandless. And they charge a significantly lower cost. And what happened, and this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, is that nobody used them because they didn't trust the product. So the price you pay, right, is directly correlated to your perceived value. And that is where brand plays a role. So you have to have some like your brand has to stand for something. And I'll give the audience kind of a homework assignment here. There's a guy by the name of Scott Galloway, Professor Scott Galloway, who introduced a professional training course called Section 4. They provide the best professors in the world do these like micro classes for executives, and he has a course on brand strategy. It's best course I've ever taken on brand strategy. I would go through that. It's a few $100 to take that course, because brand does play such an essential role, but you have to understand how great brands are built. Now, to go back to your earlier point about performance marketing, I come from the David Ogilvy School of Marketing, which is the goal of marketing is to make a sale. So I love brand so long as a brand helps me make a sale. And so I believe that at the end of the day, you have to be able to draw a straight line between a marketing campaign and a sale. And if you don't do that, you can fall into the habit of doing like checkbox marketing, doing things that get impressions but don't actually drive revenue. And that may have worked in 2021, in the first half of 2022. It is absolutely not going to fly in 2023 and beyond. So I think from a marketing perspective, when it comes to driving results for your business, you have to recognize that performance-based marketing, and we could talk about some specific strategies, but performance-based marketing has got to be a part of the strategy. Now, here's the mistake everybody makes. It's people run ad campaigns, launch marketing campaigns, send email campaigns, shoot videos, and they expect results within 30 days. It's like, if you're overweight and you go to the gym, you're not going to get a 6-pack in the first 30 days. So people's patience and their tolerance for like letting things play out is very, very low. And that, in a lot of instances, causes individuals to not commit themselves fully to an idea and go from one idea to the next without ever really giving it enough time to materialize. Whether it's going to work or not going to work, what we know is if you just give up in the first sort of week or 2 weeks, it likely is never going to yield results. So there's a certain level of patience required as you are iterating through this process that many people don't have, and as a result, they never really reach their full potential behind it.
Yeah, I call those the dabblers. It's like when I meet with a real estate agent and I'm asking them, okay, what's your goals for this year? What worked last year? What didn't work? And oftentimes they start going through their list of things that they're tried. And I'm like, wait a minute, you did that for like 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks you didn't get, a million leads. So we switched gears and did this. And it's not even like little tweaks. It's like, let's switch to a whole different strategy. And I'm like, man, and I think as a society, it's just our patience level. I mean, my son can't even sit through a 60-second ad on Netflix. I'm like, if you were born in the days where we actually had like commercials, but I just think as a society, we're conditioned to like, our patience levels are so tiny that I would love, once we start jumping into some of the strategies, kind of what you feel, okay, with this strategy, I would give it 12 months commitment, still analyzing and making tweaks when you need, but like, don't jump ship, like whatever you think the appropriate patience level, because I think you hit the nail on the head of, we aren't patient enough, but then what could I tell myself to, give it this amount of time before I give up on it?
Yeah, well, you bring up such an important point, Denise, which is this idea that the founder of the Four Seasons has this, maybe the best line I've heard around like excellence. He said, "Excellence is your capacity to take pain." And this is actually what I think being an entrepreneur and being a marketer and being a salesperson really is all about, is your capacity to sort of to take the pain that comes along with like learning and investing and taking on risk. James Dyson, or I think he goes by Sir James Dyson now, dude spent 14 years building the very first version of the vacuum cleaner. 14 years to build that one product. And he would say that he worked all day and night. His prototypes would blow up in his face. He would go home and he'd see his wife, and his wife would be disappointed because she could see the disappointment in his face, and he would cry himself to sleep. But then the next day he would get back up and go to work again. And I think a lot of agents right now fall into this trap of like, you are going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year doing this job. It is supposed to be hard. Okay. Like, put your hard hat on. Like, this is supposed to be hard. So let's turn the corner here and we can give some specifics. Cause I do want to, we could talk all day long about entrepreneurial stories and ideas and strategies, but I do think that for your community, I know you guys love to give just practical advice to help them in their businesses. I'll give you one really simple idea. And that is, we work with a lot of clients who do like direct mail marketing. And this is like, farming is a good example. Farming is if you talk to anybody who does farming, they'll all say the same thing. Hey, give it, 12 months before you expect an ROI. Well, I'm going to give you a quick hack on how to dramatically improve the ROI from your farming efforts and cut that time down by 75%. If you're going to send a postcard or you're going to send a letter in the mail, and there's many examples we could talk about different strategies and campaigns that we've run that have generated millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars on listing appointments. But if you're going to send a direct mail piece, there's a few things you should do. Number one, you should focus on your targeting. Who are you going to actually be farming in your market? I talked to the team over at PropStream who provides data for companies who do marketing to farms. And I was talking to one of the customer service reps. I said, hey, listen, you work with hundreds of the top agents in the country who do farming every single month. Tell me the secret sauce. And he goes, Jimmy, I'll tell you exactly what you should do. Go into your build a list, choose the people who are like in your farm, who have owned the house for 5+ years, who have, 30% equity. And then I want you to go under the mortgage info and I want you to select anybody who has a mortgage rate of 4% or higher. And it took me like longer than it should to figure out what he was doing. but 28 million Americans refinanced during the pandemic. If someone's got a 4% interest rate and they've owned the house for 5 years, why didn't they refinance? Why would I pay the closing costs? Why would I go through the hassle? I'm going to sell anyways. So going back to your point, Deborah, about psychology, like leaning into this idea, like why wouldn't you get a 2.75 or 3% if you got a 5% mortgage? Because, what's the point? Save a couple bucks, but I'm going to be selling in the next year anyways. So the first thing with direct mail is to get smarter about the targeting, making sure that you sort of think about who are the people likely to sell. The second thing is there's a website called, and this is going to be a little uncomfortable, but I want to make sure I'm really clear on this. There's a site called foreplay.co, not .com. Do not put the M at the end of that. It's foreplay.co.
With an E, right? FORE, right? Yes.
We got to be real specific with this audience, okay?
FORE play.co, not .com. And it's a library of the best advertising campaigns saved by professional marketers, TikTok videos, Facebook videos, Instagram, you name it. And so it's a place to find inspiration. It's a place to find new ideas that professional marketers who have to make a sale, what are the angles, the visuals, the design, the copy that they're using. So the first thing is to be more thoughtful about your farm. Don't just choose a blanket list and then blast everybody. The second thing is to be really thoughtful about finding inspiration outside of the real estate industry. Look for other brands who have to move merchandise to inspire what type of campaign you might create. And the last piece is once you actually send the postcard out, and this is really how you drive up the performance. And to your point, Denise, about making an investment, but also getting results faster. What you should do is you should think about as a layer cake, which is the farm, the marketing piece is sort of the first piece. Then you should think about how can I host a community event in that area? How can I then also circle dial around the farm to follow up with people who I've sent a postcard to? So I might say, hey, Denise, this is Jimmy calling with ABC Realty. The reason I'm reaching out is because we just sent you a postcard about what's happening with the market in your neighborhood. And we just want to see if you had any questions. Like adding that layer of just a sales component, a community component on top of the marketing component is how you accelerate the results you get. If you're waiting for the phone to ring, you're doing it wrong. You got to think of this as a total campaign, not as a let me send it and let's hope they come by.
And I love that you say that because I think the old school way was like a single direct channel approach of let me just send this postcard and then wait for my phone to ring. But exactly what you're describing is obviously more intentional, but it's multi-channel. And that's really what will kind of boost the results is it's the postcard and combined with maybe an in-person community event combined with the other channel of a phone call. It's like it's the triple whammy instead of but when people hear farming, they associate it with what farming might have looked like back in the day. Because I loved hearing that your first strategy was farming, because I have literally had agents like, I just don't think farming works anymore. They've literally deemed farming as a strategy that no longer works and is dated.
Yeah, I'm like a born again direct mail marketer because I have, as someone who is I'm a millennial, I'm 37 years old, and they refer to me now. They've reclassified me as a geriatric millennial. So I'm not sure if Gen Zers did that, but that's now what.
Don't worry, we are too. I'm like, oh, so we're an old millennial. Like, why do we even have to separate can we just be millennials? Whatever.
Yes. And so yes, welcome to the club. And so I'm a digital native, right? I started with Facebook advertising, Google, email marketing, content marketing, inbound marketing. That was always been my kind of core competency. So I was late to the direct mail game. But what I will tell you is that great marketing translates across multiple mediums. And the thing that excites me about direct mail, and the reason why I've been such a convert, has been because it's most of it is terrible, and yet it still works. I mean, I have sat down with agents who generate 50 to 100 listings a year from direct mail marketing, and their marketing is objectively awful. So I imagine a world where, wow, what if it was great? And I was listening to a podcast recently with the CEO of Nextdoor. You know, everyone knows Nextdoor, the community app. And she was formerly a CFO, and she became CEO, which is a very rare thing to do. Very few CEOs or CFOs. But clearly, she comes with this data-driven, numbers-driven approach to running the business. And she was on the podcast, and they were talking about how Nextdoor has expanded its business and its reach, and all the different investments they make to acquire customers. They talked about their social strategy, their video strategy, their referral strategy. And she said on the podcast that the number one channel for them getting people to use Nextdoor was not social media. It was not referrals. It was direct mail. And, you know, there are the best brands in the world. Like I have I'm not sure if you guys use, like in these meal delivery services, but I have, like I've used them all. The one that I'm on right now is Factor. They're kind of having a moment right now. Have you guys seen the ads for this? They might only target like geriatric millennial bros, but like, it's a like, you know, food delivery service, but their direct mail is so good. And they include like, hey, here's a referral, you give someone else 5 meals. And that's how I got turned on to it. Was someone who used it sent it to me, say, hey, you should try this out, it's really good. And then I now have sent it to somebody else. So the great brands use this channel as a way to go direct to consumer without having to use the filters and using the algorithms as whether or not their content's going to show up. So I would say for those people who are skeptics, it's a little bit of like, I would say, look internally. Would you respond to the things that you send to people? Because if the answer is no, then let's start there. Let's figure out how we can get your marketing to be a bit better.
Got it. And just to be clear, this is something that your company can help with?
Yeah, we do direct mail right now. One of our pro tips is we do yellow letters. There's a company in Wisconsin. There's a guy, David. He's like an enigma to me. He's got like his MBA, went to like Wharton Business School, I believe, or one of these Ivy League schools. And he opened up a direct mail factory in Wisconsin, where he now employs 100 people in this like factory. And they have all these robots that hand write letters. And so this totally aside, just seems really weird that he would do this. But anyways, the point is that yellow letters are also another type of marketing campaign that can work really well with direct mail. So you have your traditional postcards, and then you have yellow letters. And the yellow letters, I may even have one with me here.
You mean like a yellow legal pad? Okay.
Yeah. So I actually have one in my desk drawer here. So it shows up like this, like an envelope like this. And so it feels like a wedding invitation. It's kind of the feeling. And when you open it up, you can see here, it's like on a yellow notepad, and on every yellow letter, there is a sticky note. And what has been, and I'll give your audience a pro tip, because I know we're sort of on the direct mail farming kind of talk track here. What I love to do is we send tens of thousands of emails every month at Curator. I like to see what is the best performing email that we sent. You know, we always study what's happening in the market, what's interesting, what are people tweeting about, you know, economists. You had mentioned Mike Simonson from Altos Research, brilliant dude. Like, he just puts out fire on Twitter. We take that and we turn that into an email marketing campaign. If that email marketing campaign does well, guess what? We turn it into a yellow letter. And that flow can help you drive up the performance without, and also increase the likelihood of being successful without having to invest a heck of a lot of time in like figuring out what the next big idea is. So yeah, yellowletterscomplete.com is the website. It's a great way to supplement your direct mail marketing to get better results. But to your earlier point, Denise, like add in those additional layers is also a big part of the strategy.
Quick question. This is kind of sidebar, but this is more farming related. Would you utilize this kind of stuff even for like past clients that you had helped, or is that you wouldn't go that approach with them?
Well, my guy Sharon, president of Real, has been convincing me to stop using the word past clients and refer to them as clients for life. He comes from the Goldman Sachs world of investment banking, and he's like, your best clients are like your best clients introduce you to your best clients. So I think a lot of agents, and there's data on this too, Denise, around like the like 87% of people say they would use their agents again, but somewhere less than 15% actually do. Ben Kinney, founder of Brevity in Place, talks about this sort of loyalty gap a lot. We have this loyalty gap, and the reality is, because there's such a long period of time between someone buying a house and selling a house, that staying in touch with them over time is very difficult. So I would 100%, 1,000% put my past clients on some version of a mailing campaign. And I could not think of a better use of your time than to, on a quarterly basis, for all the people who live in the area that you service, for your clients, your clients for life. Could not think of a better use of time to write a long, lengthy update that provides insight on what's happening in the market, that demonstrates your expertise, that doesn't even have a call to action. Like, just as like almost like a shareholder letter that you deliver to your clients for life as a means of staying connected to them. What an incredible opportunity. Yet we're so fixated on chasing strangers that most of us like don't take advantage of that. So yeah, I totally believe in that, Denise. Like, double down on this idea of like using this channel to also reach your clients that you've been working with in the past.
I was curious about that because, I think at least a lot of the agents I work with will email some sort of, here's what's going on. And some of them rely on the CRM. So how intentional is the content for that particular person who opened it? That's definitely up for discussion. But when I first got into this business, I worked for a mortgage company that did mail out 2 postcards to I call them my nerd club because I go by the mortgage nerd. So anybody that does a loan with me, they're part of my club now. But we would send out 2 snail mail postcards, and it was just solely based on financial literacy. It really had nothing to do with real estate. It was like, what's the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA? But my point is the delivery method was mail, and we got away from that because of over the years. And there is something to say for opening something tangible that's meaningful quarterly. I could see that being it just moves the needle a bit versus just an email.
Well, it's easy to click delete. It makes you almost, when you have to throw something away, that's a little bit harder than just delete, or unsubscribe.
Yeah, it's yes, and it's send emails and also, produce a physical piece. The other thing that, and going on the topic of how do we help our audience here get their next customer, because we know it's going to cost more, it's going to take longer, it's going to be harder for them to acquire the next customer. What are other things that they can do? Enzo Ferrari, founder of Ferrari, there's a famous story about how he would sell Ferraris. In the early days, people would come to the factory in Italy, and these wealthy businessmen would tour the factory, and Enzo would say, he will walk around, show them the prototypes, show them the process, show them the manufacturing, show them the craftsmanship that goes into it. And after going through a tour for a few hours, looking at sort of everything that goes into building these beautiful cars, the person would undoubtedly say, well, I would like to buy one. And Enzo would always respond by saying, well, we don't really have any available. I'll see what I can do for you, maybe in 6 months, maybe 12 months. And the consumer would leave disappointed, right? Because they just got sold on this incredible car, and they wanted to buy one. And a mechanic came up to Enzo Ferrari one day after overhearing this conversation. He said, he goes like, Enzo, I'm probably called him Mr. Ferrari at that point. He goes, we have a parking lot full of these cars. Why wouldn't you just sell it to him? And Enzo Ferrari's response was, Ferrari is about desire. It is something that needs to be desired. And this to me, I think, is the essence of marketing, which is you want to create some demand and some excitement around a product. And great marketers understand that. And so how that translates to us in real estate is you take something as mundane and something that we do every day, which is when we list a property, how we promote that property. And a listing is an asset. A listing, some of them, not all of them, some of them are Ferraris, some of them are Toyotas, but some of them are Ferraris. And so how we promote those listings is, to me, one of the untapped opportunities. And I'll give you a really specific example of this. Most people who promote their listings when a home either it hits the market, and maybe some of them are a little bit more savvy, do a coming soon. I believe the best time to promote a listing is before you even have it. And so Deborah, let's say you call me up and said, Jimmy, I would like you to come by my property and take a look at it and discuss the opportunity of listing my home. What I would do then is I would say, before I went to Deborah's house, I would say, okay, I'm going to email my database. And I would say in the subject line, I'm about to go meet a potential seller. And in the subject, in the email, I would say, hi everyone, I got a phone call from a seller, or from a potential seller who's thinking about maybe putting their house on the market. I can't share any of the details with you yet, but what I can tell you is homes like theirs have been selling in 13 days at around 100.3% of the ask price. My expectations are this home is likely going to move very quickly. If the seller decides they want to list their property, would you like me to notify you? And so what we're doing is we're creating this narrative, this story, that we're creating desire around this thing that we don't even have. Like, we don't have the listing, and we've given no information about the home, but we're creating desire. And what will happen is, undoubtedly, there will be 10, 15, 20 people who are looking to buy, who are in these low inventory markets, will say, yes, if they decide to list, I'd love to learn all the details about this home. Well, when you walk into that listing presentation, now you can walk into it with the confidence that, say, most agents who are going to help you sell your home are going to tell you all the things they're going to do. A great agent has already got to work. Let me show you the 15 people who told me they're interested in learning more about your property. Two things happen. Number one, you 100% win that listing, which you don't want to miss out on that. But number two, you've identified 10 or 15 prospects who are serious, who are what you consider to be like ready or high intent, that now can be a potential customer for you to work with in the future. So you build that connection with them. This is what Enzo Ferrari talked about the goal for Ferrari is to be desirable. And you can create this desirability, this scarcity with your marketing using something as simple as a listing appointment. Now, the reason most people didn't do this is because if we go back in the time machine 18 months ago, homes were selling in a matter of 0.05 seconds, right? Like, they were just like that. And so no one could slow down to execute ideas like this. Well, this market is a little bit slower. Let's use it to our advantage to execute creative ideas to get our next customer. So farming is a pillar, and I would say starting to think about creative ways to use your listings would be the sort of second pillar I'd be coaching your audience on.
That is so brilliant.
No one's doing that.
Yeah.
Major bomb.
Yeah. No one's even thinking that way, because you're right. 18 months ago, and we even feel it in the loan world, because our agents were like, I need a pre-qual letter as fast as possible. I need appraisal done as fast as possible. I need you to close on this loan as fast as possible. So that muscle memory for us became how fast. And it felt like we were working in a fast food restaurant where people didn't really care. It was just like, I want this Chick-fil-A sandwich and I want it in 60 seconds or less. But now the market has shifted, and it's like, now we're in a fine dining restaurant. So the hostess has to speak differently. The waiter has to speak differently. The way that if there's a stain on the glass and you're about to ask somebody to overpay for the steak dinner, the experience is tainted because that one team member didn't wash the dish thoroughly through. All that kind of, so it's like, I try to put that into real estate, and exactly what you're saying is I think that muscle memory, a lot of us still have. I'm guilty of it ourselves. Every week we talk about how we can rewind that, and we've got to slow down and create that desire and that buzz. I didn't even think about, even before you get to the listing, like you haven't even won the listing, and quite frankly, you might not win the listing, but you might have picked up a client just because of that strategy. Like it's so brilliant.
Yeah, if you're going to show up, you might as well get something, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's just like you might as well get something from it. And I think this is where really good agents are good marketers. Like marketing should be a core competency. It should not be a nice to have. This is the business that we are in. We should be thinking this like creatively about it. I met an agent, Amy Stockberger, who is the #1 agent in South Dakota. She is I would rather wrestle a grizzly bear than compete with Amy. She is a machine. And what was so incredible about Amy is that she actually built out, get this, she's got 100 vendors who pay her $3,500 a year to be part of her lifetime home value program. What that does is that it gives them access to like her customer base. And now what she does is she takes that income from this from the sponsorships, and she has all of these different free rental services that she gives her clients after they close. So as simple as a moving truck, a tree trimmer, wheelbarrows, like, tools around the house you might use. She actually has bouncy houses. Like she has all these different things where anyone who's a client can simply go to like her reservation website and book something and get it for completely free. And it has all her branding on it, of course. And so she's got this incredible built-in loyalty to her because, as a homeowner, you don't want to go buy a damn tree trimmer and spend $500 on it to use it one time. So she takes all these like obscure things that you kind of need to use as a homeowner, and then like she makes it available to her customers, and she effectively subsidizes it through sponsorships. The sponsors, right, the contractors, mortgage and title, and all the other partners like benefit tremendously because they have access to her customer base and they get business that way. She builds a deep, customer base of a loyal customer base, and the consumer gets something of value that's totally unique. She absolutely crushes the competition when they talk about, oh, we're going to help you sell your house quickly. Well, what happens when you need to buy a house? And then what happens when you own the house for 8 years? How are you helping me during that process? And so I think there's just an opportunity to reimagine some of the ways in which we serve our customers that go beyond just maybe what we were doing before. Because I think you gave a great example, Denise. Like we were the fast food, like it was all fast food. It was like we weren't even fast casual. We were like fast food, right? We were like just come in, what's your order, click, scan the app, don't talk to a human, buy something. Like we were that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like that creating that client for life, and I can't remember what that business coach always talked about. Is like you can acquire more clients.
There's 3 ways to grow a business.
Yeah.
Get more clients, get more revenue per client, or the upsells and repeat clients.
Yeah. And it's just, I feel like when the market was fast and furious, we were focused on the immediate need. And it's like, I'm going to help you. What we tell our clients is I'm going to help you get the best rate right now when rates are still a little bit artificially high. But then we have an entire post-closing customer service team, which most lenders don't. Most real estate agents don't. Imagine being like, we have a post-closing customer service team because you first-time home buyer just bought this house, and it's like, now what do I do with it? Like no one teaches you how to maintain a freaking home. When I bought my first house and I was single, female, we live in Texas, there was like a thing called a soaker hose for your foundation. And I'm like, hold on, you water the concrete? And like nobody told me that for 4 years. And I was pissed, quite frankly, because the foundation is like super important to your house. And so there is such a need. That's like a whole nother layer of post-closing customer service. After you got paid, you still have a genuine interest in helping them maintain that asset, which is quite frankly our job. If you want them to hire you again and get max dollar to sell that asset you just bought, you might be better off helping them maintain it, you know?
So I want to hit on, before we run out of time here, kind of tying in both 1 and 2 with getting smarter with how we target, but also creating the desire. How does that translate to digital? If, say, like we know most families or most homeowners, I think 68% of them have an interest rate that starts with a 2 or a 3, and 80% have an interest rate below 5%. So there's, and you guys are more, studying real estate on those numbers. So what I feel like is there's people, even myself, I have a primary home that I hate. I hate it. We bought it sight unseen. I have 4 kids. The backyard's way too small, but I have a 2.5% rate. So part of me is like, but do I really want to move? Because I would outprice myself in the market. And so when you're trying to go after what feels like a needle in a haystack, because there's just not a lot of people raising their hand. One, who are the people that are raising their hands that we should hone in on this quarter or the next couple quarters? And how do we create that desirability beyond the postcards or, once someone's already contacted you for a potential listing, like how do we grow that influence strategically?
Well, so there's 2 parts to that question, which is who is selling today and who's moving today, and then how do we connect with those individuals? So like, in order for you to get a listing, you have to get an appointment. In order for you to get an appointment, you have to have a conversation. In order to have a conversation, you've got to create, different marketing campaigns and different sales tactics to actually engage the consumer. And so so just to break this problem down in a very simple way, one of the things that we like to do is create this sort of like curiosity with the consumer. And I'll give you a very specific example of this. Everybody who owns a home likely goes to Zillow to look at this estimate once in a while, right? Or Redfin estimate, right? Like what is my home worth? And everybody who goes there has an opinion about that, has an opinion about their home's value. They think it's too high, too low. They think it's just right, but they feel something about it. They either agree or disagree. Many of them strongly agree or disagree. And so this is an opportunity to use this belief system to start a conversation. So one of the tactics that we coach is this idea where when you're reaching out to your SOI to say, to go to Zillow.com, and you can do this on a daily basis. This is like what I would call the blocking and tackling of marketing and sales. You can go to Zillow every day for 3 to 5 of your clients in your SOI, and you could take a screenshot of their Zestimate, right? So I go to your house, I pull up your address, I take a screenshot of what Zillow says your home is worth. And then what I would send in a text message, I would say, hey, Deborah, I was on Zillow earlier today looking at a few properties, and I thought I'd check out your Zestimate. Zillow estimates that your home is worth, $875,000. And I would include in that text message a screenshot of the Zestimate. I would then say, I have my opinion, but I'd love to hear yours. And I'd open that conversation up. Now, they would immediately likely reply, oh, I think that's way off. I think that seems really high. Like, really? It seems high? Like, we actually sold a house a few weeks down the block that sold for $875 or $890, and your house is twice as good as that property, right? They water their foundation, they maintain the property, they kept it in good shape.
They have a soaker hose. In Texas, we know what it is now.
Yes, listen, trust me. As a homeowner, I lived in the city of Boston for 10 years, and we bought in the suburbs. So I'm a new homeowner and new-ish homeowner, and I'm just completely unprepared for the things that are involved in this. And I'm just sort of resisting it because I want to go back to the city, but that's a separate podcast. But that's how I would be using like things that are happening right now, engaging with consumers to start a conversation. Now, your second question was, who's actually selling? My sister literally just sold her house like 3 weeks ago. And she sold her house because her kids are about to be teenagers. They're like 11 and 11. They're 11 and 12. They're twins. They're both 11. They're 11 years old, and they're going to be teenagers. And she wants to move into a better school district. She had a 2.75 interest rate. She owned the house for a long time. She's built up a ton of equity. So it is the people who have life events are the ones who are going to move right now. And by the way, let's like call it what it is. It's still 4.5 million people. It's still a lot of people. And so death, disease, divorce, different school districts, right? Diamonds, right? Whatever the 4 Ds are. Like there are these events that happen that cause you to move that will supersede the financial component of it. And so what I would say is, like, for those individuals, we did a campaign recently that was just wildly effective. I mean, this campaign was one of the most effective campaigns we've done in recent memory. It was a campaign where we said, let's get in the mind of the consumer. In the book, Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents, we talked about this concept of show me that you know me. And Phil will talk about that when you have him on the podcast, which you have to have him on the podcast. Show me that you know me. So we sent a campaign out, and the subject line was rent versus sell, not rent versus buy, rent versus sell. And we said, if you've owned your home for a few years and you're thinking about moving, you likely have a low interest rate of somewhere below 3%. Many people who are just like you are considering holding on to this home and turning it into a rental property versus just simply selling it as they make their next move. If you'd like us to prepare a rent versus sell analysis, just reply to this email. And so people say, yeah, that actually describes my exact situation. I own this home. I got 2.75 interest rate. I don't owe a lot on the property. I can rent it out. I probably can make income. And then, yeah, does it make sense for me to do that versus cash out my equity and put that on a new home? And what they learn very quickly is being a landlord sucks. Right? Like it's like, unless you do it for a living, like there's like very few things as bad as being a part-time landlord who has a full-time job. Like very few things are that bad. And so what you find is that these types of marketing campaigns to these types of individuals that speaks to their pain points and their problems are the marketing campaigns that work. So the people who are going to move, it's death, it's divorce, it's diamonds, right? It's people who have some life event. And the marketing campaigns that work to sort of start that conversation are ones that tap into a conversation they're already having around the kitchen table. That should be, I would consider to be the playbook as we go into this market.
I got one last question as we wrap up. I'm curious, what do you think about open houses? What's the strategy there? Anything different, innovative to do with the open houses that maybe people aren't doing today or what they've done for years?
Yeah. Tom Ferry talks a lot about this idea of these mega open houses, which I love. I just genuinely love that idea of having these really big events around open houses. I heard a coach recently, and his name's going to escape me, but he talked about this idea of putting all of your marketing energy and effort into a true, like a launch event. And so oftentimes people will schedule multiple showings and multiple open houses. And that is, as a means trying to get as much exposure. But then like you get a few people coming through the property and, it's okay, great. Maybe they'll put an offer, and there's a perception, if there's not a lot of people there's a perception that there isn't a lot of demand there. And that to me, I think does the consumer a disservice. So if I were to do any type of open house, I would sort of use the movie trailer approach, which is like, I would put all my resources into the launch. I would have one event, one day, no other showings, no other private, like I would get everybody, whether it's 30 people, to show up at one time. Because I guarantee you, if 30 people show up one time, people are like, oh man, we got to put an offer on this house. Someone else, I don't even like this house that much, but I might as well put an offer because someone else is going to buy this property. So my advice on an open house is like, don't spread it across multiple weekends. Don't host private showings. Treat it like a launch party, have one event, get as many people through there as possible. But then, there's so many other things like around like treating it like a true event, that you can have sponsors there and other types of businesses there, that could provide value. Like there's such an opportunity to treat it like truly like a client appreciation party around this listing, that I think a lot of people just don't take advantage of at this point.
I love that. Okay, so Jimmy, what's the best way for people if they want to reach out to you, if they want to learn more about what you do? Or is there a social platform that you prefer for people to follow? Like, how can our audience engage with you more?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram now. It's just at Jimmy Mackin on Instagram. And I resisted going on Instagram for many years. I know it sounds crazy after hearing me talk this entire time, but I've resisted going to Instagram because I did not want to post pictures of my kids. I didn't want to post pictures of where I'm flying to or working out or doing any of the things that people generally post on Instagram. And it's like, I'm like, no one cares. It's not useful. So I'm not going to do it.
Are you sure you're not Gen X? Are you sure you're not a Gen X?
He identifies as Gen X. He's a millennial, but he identifies.
Yes, I could be. Yes, that's definitely a possibility. I'm actually a boomer in a millennial's body, I think is what's more accurate. So on Instagram, it's just at Jimmy Mackin, but I'm on a mission to be the most useful person to follow in real estate on Instagram. So if you go to my Instagram profile at Jimmy Mackin, the reels, the stories, the posts I put out, everything I share is something designed to help your business, help you market your business, help you sell, help you generate your next customer. My only goal is to be the most useful person to follow on Instagram in our industry. So if you follow me on Instagram, you're going to get advice, strategies, tactics to help your business grow.
It is a legit feed. Like it gives me ideas. It's swipe and adapt. It has from email subject lines. It's fantastic. So,
well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and for especially the real estate agents that are listening. I will tell you, it is Q2 of 2023. And I think some of us need to look in the mirror and ask ourselves if you don't feel like you are keeping up with where marketing trends are, if you're not measuring what's working, what's not, if you're not being strategic, you are likely either putting in a lot of effort or writing a lot of checks. And I would highly encourage you to reach out and explore this opportunity. This isn't a sales pitch. I have nothing in it. There's no affiliate link, but I'm just saying if you've got a few more years left in real estate, you might as well be meaningful and intentional, because the gap of, even in my own business, the marketers, I'm a loan officer. My job by day is to help people qualify. But the reality is most of my job today is marketing, and the gap is widening at a ridiculously fast rate, that if you need help, it's okay, and have somebody help you that at least knows what they're doing and does it on a large scale, that they can measure results and know what works and what doesn't. So thank you guys for tuning in. Catch us next time, and we've got some good guests coming up, so I'm excited for it. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.